Hello everybody, it's Kara from Wild Book Garden, and today I am here with my favorite mysteries and thrillers that I read in 2022. As you guys will have already seen, I am splitting up my favorite books by genre because I read so many books this last year. And also I think it'll be a lot easier and more fun to watch, and it'll be easier for me to edit and caption. So there's a lot of pluses, I think, to doing it this way. And I have some mystery thrillers to talk to you guys about. You guys know this is not a genre I read a ton of, so the fact that I have 5 books here that I'm really excited to talk to you about, I think is really great, really exciting. So coming in at number 5, I have The Scandalous Sisterhood of Prickwillow Place by Julie Berry. This is a really fun, funny, but also kind of heartwarming in a certain way, mystery following a bunch of girls who go to a school together, like a boarding school type thing. And one day their headmistress and her brother, so like the two people who kind of run the school, they drop dead at the table. And so now the girls have to try and figure out who did this, and they actually decide to cover up the fact that they're dead because they don't want to get sent back home. They all have reasons for not really wanting to go home, and they're really good friends with each other. They're really much happier at being at the school together, so they of course decide to just conceal the fact that their headmistress and her brother are dead and that they have no adult supervision. Well, of course, also trying to solve the mystery. And this was just so much fun and so well written. I often have a very difficult time with books that are this kind of thing, like this kind of tone and humor. I personally feel like doesn't mix very well with, like a murder mystery. I know some people enjoy that. I usually don't, but this was kind of an exception for me. I just really love the way Julie Berry writes. She's so clever and funny and very engaging. I really liked the girls themselves and their friendships with each other. Another thing that I was kind of surprised I didn't mind is that this is kind of one of those books where it's an ensemble cast where everybody kind of has one or two big personality traits, but that's deliberate, and so I didn't really mind it. There's also a couple of small romance subplots that I thought were very sweet. I just all around really enjoyed this. I did give it 4 stars. I had a couple issues with it. I didn't love some things about the solution itself. And I also think that the language around one of the girls, or a couple of the girls actually, could have been done a little better, in terms of their body type or just kind of the way they come off. So there were a couple things I didn't love, but this was still one of my favorite mystery books I read, and I gave this one 4 stars. It is number 5 on my list. Next I have one that I actually have a whole spoiler-free review for. That is The Murder of Mr Wickham by Claudia Gray. I did receive this as an ARC in exchange for an honest review, and obviously I really loved it because it's on this list. This one I gave 4.5 stars, although I really loved it. I will say that this is not a book if you are a big mystery thriller reader and you're going into this book for that. This is not a book for you, probably. It's more about how much fun it is to see an author who really knows and loves Jane Austen put these characters into a mystery plot, it's fun to see the elements of the mystery, but it's more about getting to hang out with a lot of Jane Austen characters. And we're following Juliet and Jonathan, who are the children of some of the couples in Jane Austen's novels. And of course you can tell that this book involves the murder of Mr Wickham. And it comes out that basically everybody who's all together for this house party, everybody has a motive, a reason to want him dead. And Juliet and Jonathan realize that because of their alibis, they're the only 2 people who they know for a fact didn't do it. They couldn't have done it. So they kind of team up to solve the mystery together. And I really loved the historical detail. As I've been saying, I really love just getting to see Jane Austen's characters in this kind of story. I feel like Claudia Gray did a really fantastic job of telling her own story, but also clearly incorporating parts of the original novels and characters. Jonathan is also autistic, and I have seen Own Voices reviews that say that is very well done and very sensitively done. I love Juliet and Jonathan's dynamic and their friendship and teamwork. Yeah, I just really enjoyed this one. It's not gotten great reviews, I think because people go in expecting the mystery part to be a bigger deal, but I loved it anyway. I don't remember if I said that one was 4.5 stars. And then, because you guys know that when I'm ranking favorites, stars do not always determine the order, because next I have a 4-star book, and that is A Darling by Kay Ancrum. This is a contemporary thriller that is also a modern Peter Pan retelling, and I was just so blown away and so pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this, because it does some things with the Peter Pan story that I am often a hard sell on in retellings, but I think Kay Ancrum did a brilliant job with them. We're following our main character Wendy, and her family have just moved to Chicago, and on her first night there she's home by herself, and this boy and girl who are Peter and Belle, what is her name in this version? I can't find it. Yeah, Tinkerbell. End up just like tumbling into her window, and they're like, hey, come with us, let's go on an adventure. And she does, and she ends up meeting some of the lost boys and getting kind of caught up in this group of kids and making friends with some of them, and then realizing that maybe there are some sinister things going on that she didn't know about. And I just thought this was fantastically done. It was so engaging. I really enjoyed the characters. There's also a very minor romance that I loved so much. Like, one of my favorite characters in this book. Like, I loved him. And as I've been saying, I just think as a retelling, this is so smart. I think this is an example of a retelling that, regardless of your feelings on the original Peter Pan, I think you could enjoy it. Yeah, it's so interesting and so unique, and I just found it very compelling. Like I said, I'm not a big mystery person, but I'm definitely not a big thriller person, and so the fact that this one is kind of a contemporary plus thriller, just very impressive. Then my second favorite mystery of the year is a perfect example of why I do not like to do my best of or year-end wrap-up videos until after the year is actually over. The only exception is I did film my sci-fi one before that because I knew I wasn't going to read any more sci-fi. But my name is Marinez. I recently saw her refer to this as being a December 31st bitch, and I absolutely am. So my second favorite mystery I read was Queen of the Tiles by Hannah Alkaf. I have put this on so many TBRs, and I am so glad I finally got to it. This was fantastic. I loved this. I read this all in one night. Like, I couldn't put it down, which is, you know, something you want in a mystery thriller. We're following our main character Najwa, and she is going back to her first Scrabble competition since the death of her best friend a year ago. She died suddenly and kind of inexplicably during a Scrabble tournament, and Najwa hasn't gone back since then, but now she is. And while she's there starts being some activity on her best friend's social media accounts, and everybody's trying to figure out, like, who did this. They're saying that maybe her death was not accidental. So Najwa is trying to figure out, like, what's going on. She's also really grieving. This book deals a lot with grief in a way that I found just very heartfelt, very compelling. And she's trying to understand what happened to her friend and figure out who she can trust. And that's in the middle of a, you know, pretty intense competition. And I just adored this so much. I love Najwa as a main character. I feel like her best friend Trina is characterized so strongly, even though she's never on page. Like, she's only on page in flashbacks, and we only get little bits of her, but like, you get such a clear picture of what this friendship was like. I also really loved the use of Scrabble in this book. Like, I've only played Scrabble a couple of times, but my friend Kelly has recently pointed out to me that I love books where characters have like a passion, like something that they really love and they're really good at, even if it's not something I do, which is so funny to me that I didn't realize that before, but it's true because I loved that part of this book. As I said, this book deals a lot with grief, and I'm finding that that is something, like, I like when books have like a mystery kind of component, but they are also thematically about some things, you know, or like there's other things, like, you know, the Jane Austen one was kind of a retelling, Darling was a retelling. This book is a lot about grief. Like, I like when it's not just about the mystery, although I did find the mystery like very gripping. I also just love Hannah Alkaf's writing itself. Like, it just feels effortless. I know it's not, but she's just so smart and compelling. And I'm noticing actually that based on the 2 books and 1 short story I have read from Hannah Alkaf, it seems like she writes about grief a lot, and I really love the way that she does it. Yeah, I thought this was brilliant. The reason I gave it 4.5 stars instead of 5 is because there was a little bit at the end, like, I didn't find the actual resolution as satisfying as I hoped compared to how much I loved the rest of the book. But this was still fabulous. I obviously still count it as my second favorite mystery of the year, so I would highly recommend. Then, this is, I'm sure, not a surprise if you guys have been watching my videos this year, but my absolute favorite mystery/thriller is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bully. I finally read this. I'm kind of still obsessed with it. Like, truly one of the best written pieces of literature I have ever read. Yeah, I'm gonna like struggle to describe this once again, even though like everybody I feel like has already read this or knows about this. But this is a contemporary mystery thriller following our main character Donis Fontaine, who is biracial. She is half white and half Ojibwe. And one day Donis witnesses a shocking murder, and that ends up putting her in the path of an FBI investigation. They end up bringing her in as kind of an undercover agent in a way to try and figure out what is going on, like who is moving meth in this community. And Donis becomes wrapped up in this very dangerous mystery. Yeah, there's so much that this book does. Like, the writing itself is impeccable, exquisite. I adore Donis with my whole heart and soul. I know I've already said this, but she's just one of those characters that I love so much that I just want to, like, I want to aspire to be a good enough person to be her friend. I love her so much. I also found the other characters, like the supporting characters, really well done, really interesting. This is another book that deals with grief, and that was just gut-wrenching. I thought it was beautifully done in this book. There is kind of a romance subplot as well, because Donna starts getting closer to one of the boys on the hockey team, and he has some secrets, and I thought that was done really well. The mystery itself, like, I know I've said this for a lot of these books, but like I could not put this book down, like very literally, because I read like one chapter earlier in the day, and then later that night I was like, oh, I'll just read, like, it'd be nice to get to page like 100 or something. I'll just read a little bit more. And I think I read more than like up through like more than like 300 pages or 350 pages. Like I like, this book is so compelling, and I love the way that it incorporates the characterization, the mystery, the Ojibwe culture and religious aspects, and I just love the like focus on community and like the messiness of family. I thought the mystery itself was incredibly compelling, and I feel like the way it all played out was very well done. I can't get over this book. I am so excited for Angeline Bully's like new release in 2023, and for anything she writes ever. Like, I just think this is incredible. This is one of those books that, like, the hype was astronomical, and yet it still exceeded my expectations. Like, this book is truly a masterpiece. For anybody who doesn't think that young adult books can be like top tier literature, I just want to like slap them with this book. Gently, of course. Yeah, I loved this. I feel like there are a lot of other things about that book that I like wanted to touch on, and I just got lost in my gushing, but there are lots of reviews available on that one. So those are my 5 favorite mystery slash thriller books that I read in 2022. As you can tell, not all of these came out in 2022. That's always how I do my best of list. They're just books that I read that year, not necessarily that came out. I did have a couple new releases, but I also had some backlist books that I really enjoyed. So please comment down below, let me know a mystery or thriller book that you really loved. Are you somebody who like reads a lot of those? Because like I don't, but I feel like it's kind of like with sci-fi, where I'm getting to the point where I know my taste enough that when I do pick them up, I almost, like, I tend to really enjoy them, you know? Like, I picked some winners. If you have one, let me know a mystery or thriller book that didn't get great reviews but that you loved, because that was definitely the Murder of Mr Wickham for me. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!